Welcome to the Enduro Method Podcast. Josh Rempel here today with Dayne Toney and Kate Schade, 2 out of 5 participants of the recent Idaho Grit Challenge. Kate, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi Josh, thanks.
Dayne, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good.
Awesome. So, you guys recently completed Idaho Grit Challenge. Number 3, True Grit. And real quick, kind of give us a breakdown of what the challenge is, what it consists of, and what it means to finish in true grit fashion.
What the challenge is.
Starting.
So we'll have to help each other out, I think, here. The True Grit 3 that we did was a 5-day, what do you call it, staged?
Yeah,
or 5-day stage challenge where every day was approximately 100 miles or more of combined single track and double track in the mountains. So the True Grit 3 was considered the southern loop. And the way we did it, we rode from Chalice to Stanley to Loman to Pine to Smiley Creek back to Chalice.
Okay, awesome. So basically kind of made a circle, more or less, with a bunch of mileage in between each stop. And then this is also, what, an unsupported
It's
version?
supposed to be self-supported.
Self-supported?
Yep, the True Grit is supposed to be self-supported.
So what's that mean exactly? Like, can you have people meet you in the evenings and give you stuff? Or if you do it unsupported, what's that look like?
We carried all of our stuff. There was no people meeting us in the evenings. There was no follow-along truck. There was no ship your stuff to places and have flip-flops and IPA beers or anything like that.
Right. So whatever you had, you either had to purchase at the place or carry on your bike with you.
You couldn't you can't stash gas. Like, that would be another thing maybe. Like, you can't do that in the True Grit fashion. We had lodging at each of the stages. So at each of the mini towns, we had lodging. So through that, we did a special test every day. I think actually we only had to do 2 special tests to make up for the not camping.
I think there's still some confusion there.
Yeah.
We did a special test every day because we were initially told that if we stayed at a hotel, we had to do a special test every day.
Okay, kind of.
Later on, they kind of told us something different, but we just did the special tests.
Right.
Yeah.
Every day anyway. Yeah.
And so what a special test would look like is you have your route from, let's say you start in Chalice, you go to Stanley, was it stage 1?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so you have your GPS tracks to follow, and a special test would be like a kind of added mileage plus added difficulty loop off of the main route kind of thing?
Generally, yes. The special tests were, one, more difficult.
Right.
2, some of them I think you got extra miles.
Yeah.
I don't believe all of them you got extra miles, but maybe.
Yeah.
Although it seemed to me that you had to do a special test on some of the days just to get through the route. Like, other options would most likely have a special test.
Yeah. Kind of the way I was describing it too is like, you have the main route or like the medium route, then you have like the easy, which is like bypass, which that was never on the table. The way I kind of interpret that was like, oh, if something bad goes wrong, that's a bypass.
Right.
Then there was like the main, and then there was special tests, which would be like black diamonds, which I think some of the stages, they were more difficult terrain. And then I actually think most of the stages, they were more difficult terrain. And then I think the Idaho City one was just like, I think that was a special test, but it was like an additional, like that day ended up being 168 miles total. But I think you could have done that at 130, I think, without doing the Idaho City. So I think the Idaho City day was not necessarily more technical, but just added time and miles. But otherwise, they were mostly like, I was describing it to people like as a black diamond.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I want to get into kind of the separate stages here in a minute, but before we go there, let's I think we got an overview of kind of what this thing is. So 5 days riding back to back to back. You have lodging in the evenings at the town that you're staying in. Self-supported, so you're carrying everything on the bike in your packs. And of course, you can purchase things in the town, so you can eat food and
but not
drink
extra,
beer and stuff like that.
Not extra parts. Like if we needed extra parts for our bikes,
Right.
we had to have those on us.
Correct. You're carrying it in your pack and this and that.
Yeah.
So that would be your true grit fashion, what they're terming true grit. Right? So when you were, first off, who else was on the tour with you?
So it was us two, and then we had Kalyn.
Benaroya.
Thank you. I was going to say it wrong. From Dirtastic. She was kind of honestly the organizer of all this. She got us all together and all organized for this accomplishment. We had Courtney Feldt from Whitefish, Montana. She's owner of a excavation. She drives
Excavation.
dump trucks.
Yeah.
And it's badass.
One of her aspects.
And then Jamie Parks was the third, who's owner of Empire of Dirt up in Coeur d'Alene. But she ended up not making it past a day and a half due to injury.
And Kalyn is the owner of Dirtastic.
Yeah.
Which is the women's. She started it to. I mean, you know. Sorry.
It's like
Dayne's a coach, but yeah, she started it to help women and get more women out riding.
Yeah.
And she does clinics and
Clinics,
coaching
rides,
out mostly out west and mostly in the Pacific Northwest, correct? Yeah.
Awesome. So when did she kind of start putting together the dream team and start planting the seed in your guys' head about doing this?
Idaho's, Josh.
When was that?
Well, we were talking about that.
This year or end of last
I
year?
almost want to say it was at the end of last year. Like, it definitely was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think the initial conversation was probably fall of last year. Would be my recollection.
Yeah, I remember you bringing it up at some point, and we were kind of looking at maps and stuff like that. But so, when did it become more serious? Like
couple weeks before.
Yeah, exactly. So when was it solidified, and you're like, okay, game on. We got to start getting ready. We got to start ordering stuff for bikes. Got to start thinking logistics, pack list, all that stuff.
I'd say it was pretty solidified a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's when, first wasn't it just you, me, and Kalyn, and then Courtney was brought on, and then Jamie was brought on?
Yep.
If I'm correct.
Well, I think you, me, and Courtney and Kalyn were first, and then we added Jamie. And then
I feel like it all kind of came together within the last 3 weeks before we started.
Right.
Yeah.
Like getting really serious about getting everything in line and getting everything ordered, which is actually a little too late to start ordering these days.
Yep.
Because everything takes so long.
Yeah.
But we got it accomplished.
Yeah. So I am curious. I know Dayne's process a little bit, for better or for worse. What about, Kate, for you? What was it? What did it look like when you were like, okay, we're doing this. It's time to get serious about getting organized and getting the bike ready and getting what I'm going to be carrying and stuff. What did that look like? Are you a list maker?
Well, I already kind of have some lists from prior, like, day-to-day, point-to-point trips.
Yeah.
So I honestly wasn't, like, overly worried about getting all my shit together. My biggest worry a couple weeks prior was the gasoline and how I was going to carry that, because I thought that all of a sudden we were not stopping at gas stations. So that's when I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get a bigger tank for my bike. I don't think it's necessary, especially when there's gas stops. So we ended up stopping at all the gas stops, so it was fine. But the gas, I've never carried over a gallon of gas outside of just what's in my tank.
Right.
So there was a day where I carried like 1.5 gallons, and it wasn't a huge deal. I had a gallon gas bag, and then the platypuses were really nice, the 2 liters.
Yeah.
So I had 2 of those. If I needed to fill them both up, I would.
Right. And we should mention too, if I'm not mistaken, everybody was on a 2-stroke 300, right?
Yep.
And so then you're looking at, okay, you can get maybe 75, 80 miles on a stock tank.
She got 80.
Kind of on a good
ran
day.
It out.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's not bad. And I know Dayne's
good.
bike does absolutely terrible with fuel mileage for whatever reason. And you'd swapped out to a oversized tank, the 3.1 gallon. And then, so definitely when you're looking at a 130 plus mile day, gas is an issue. So being able to carry that is always not enjoyable.
Yeah, efficiently on your bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also ran into not knowing how far I could get on my bike. Like I should have, if I would have done it over again, that I had done some big rides prior to the grit, but I would have, instead of adding my gas when I did, I would have ran my bike all the way out and then added gas, because then I would have had at least known what my bike gets miles per gallon, because I actually really didn't have any idea. I was guessing. I'm like, my bike does worse than yours and is the worst, so we'll just go off of that.
Right. Better
but
err on that.
But I didn't really have any a truly educated number.
Right. Okay, so back to your.
We were all fine.
So you got some general lists in your head already. What were your, besides fuel? Did you have any kind of concerns, or were you just this is kind of just a big weekend because this is kind of what we do anyways?
Besides fuel. Yeah, I mean, just to be completely honest, besides fuel, my concerns were, one, just getting everything on my Garmin.
Yeah.
Which my Garmin ended up being a little screwball, so that's why I ended up doing some last minute kind of tracking, which was tracing the route that we were planning on doing, and putting that in my Garmin, and then having all the other tracks there that if we changed route, I could add that, extra trail on.
Right.
And figure things out if we needed to change our route for whatever reason, which we did, but it wasn't any major changes. And then the other worry was just having too much on the bike.
Right.
And or bringing a chainsaw.
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was a good idea we didn't end up bringing a chainsaw, but just having someone carry a chainsaw for 5 days, and if you really needed to chainsaw, that's going to take a lot of time out of your day, much needed daylight. So those were probably my biggest worries, I think, prior. And we had never all ridden together as a group. So, I mean, basically we just, trusted each other in Kalyn's judgment that we're all fine riders and could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's kind of different to
totally.
go on a trip where you've never ridden with the people before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was really great.
Right. Yeah, that seems like a very calm way to get ready for the event compared to my first-hand experience.
Are you pointing fingers at me?
Watching Dayne get ready. So Dayne, in your head, what were your most concerns and biggest worries kind of getting ready for this thing?
Well, my worries were, of course, like I said, the gas and how I was going to carry it. I had bought the Climb Arsenal vest, which fit so much stuff, which I loved, and distributed the weight really well. So I was really stoked on that. But then I was like, okay, now where do I put the gas? I think I got, I had a handful of different options, but I never really knew what sort of method I was going to go with. And then the other hard part was we had stuff that I wasn't going to be getting until we got there, and because Kalyn had ordered some dry bags from Moscow Moto, but I wasn't going to be there until then, so I didn't know where I was going to put them and how they were going to fit. So playing the gas Tetris, what I was going to put my gas in, what apparatus, whether that be I had the bottles, and then I had the platypus too. And so what I was going to do with that. I didn't have the gallon gas bag that Kate and Courtney had, but that was definitely stressful and Tetris-y, trying to figure out to best put my gas on my bike. And then it was hard too, because at first I was like, oh, just put it on my back, and then you'd be try and get as much off your back as you can. I was like, oh god, I don't want to put anything on my back now. So I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to shuffle it all around and figure out what was best.
Right. So what did you end up settling on for a solution for carrying fuel?
So I ended up with, I got the Trailbound chainsaw mount up in the front where it took place in my headlight.
Shout out to Trailbound.
Hey, Trailbound. But so I had that, and then I ended up getting the bigger red gas bottles that are hard metal. And I got these silly little nets for them, but I actually am glad that I did because I ended up having some gas problems or gas bottle attachment problems on the ride. But I put those two in the front, and then I had a small dry bag with my clothes and my tool bag on the rear fender that was also attached through the Trailbound rear fender mounting situation. And that was it, I think. Oh, I had the saw in the front too. Kate and I both had the big silky saws. We brought those along and thought they would be a better solution in case
you can cut some big stuff with those saws.
Yeah.
Which
we actually, I know we never pulled them out once.
No.
But so that's what I did, and then the rest in my climb vest. But I think I moved my situations around probably 10 times the night before.
Looking back now, is there anything you would change on either where you carried it on your body or how you carried it on your bike?
Yeah.
I know
I carried that 1 gallon gas. Number one, I don't know if I would get that again because it's nicer to have the platypus because it comes in 2 liter sections, and the 1 gallon, like I put it on the back of my bike. I used a little giant Loop Moto, teeny little rack for like $50, and it carried 10 pounds. Right. So I put the gallon there, and then I put another half gallon there with the platypus. But the 1 gallon, I mean, you can pour a platypus in so much quicker.
Yeah.
And if I was going to open the 1 gallon, I wanted to pour it all at once and not have to open it a couple times. Right. So I'd probably just go with, honestly, multiple platypus and find a way to secure all those.
Right. And a platypus, we're just talking about you get like an outdoor hiking shop, I guess. I don't know what it is, right?
Hiking shop.
But it's supposed to be for water, ideally. But and we started doing it after we saw you and Nate doing it. But we use that for fuel, and it actually holds together. I mean, I had one for over 2 years, and it didn't start leaking, didn't break down. The only time I've had them pop is one I ran over one, and then the other I left it in the sunshine, and it exploded all in the back of the truck.
Wow.
But never had one break. As long as you just dump the fuel in, it folds up super small, nice and light,
which is so nice.
Yeah. So that's a good trail tip if you haven't found those out yet.
For sure.
Awesome. So fuel, definitely a big deal. Figuring out your mileage in between stages, having that dialed. How much did you have extra? Because I'm curious, because you were carrying so much.
Well, what's funny, I was just gonna say is I was so stressed about the fuel, and then literally fuel was never really an issue.
But we never had to go back and help someone, or we never really got off route too far.
Yep, true.
We tried to go that road that one time.
So I was
closed,
ready.
Right.
So you just don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the extra, but we were lucky we didn't.
Yeah, and over 5 days, no mechanicals, which is pretty awesome.
Right. Major mechanicals.
No major mechanicals. Yeah. Little issues here and there.
That's a big deal.
What about pre-ride bike, basic maintenance? What are the things you got to have squared away on your bike before you attempt this kind of trip? Because, you're talking 600 plus miles is what you ended up with after 5 days. So tire selection, moose, no moose, and kind of the things that you really wanted to make sure were new on the bike and ready to go to set you up for success.
Moose, we all had moose, for sure. We didn't want to deal with
tubeless,
tubes, anything. You're pretty much, for the most part, you're going to be pretty set if you have moose. We all I think everyone had new bearings in their tires. Obvious, fluids were filled, oil changed. There was some discussion on, like fuel filters, making sure those were fresh.
Yeah, making sure the oil pump had been replaced within a decent amount of time.
So issues that you kind of experience, and then you
brake pads are good.
Yeah, brake pads. What else am I? Yeah, spokes on the tires are good. I mean, we've seen a mess of a tire before.
Yeah,
the spokes. Yeah, what else? What am I missing?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I did my clutch before, but
you were due.
Yeah,
regardless.
some people might.
It's just like,
fluid done. My bike was pretty new too, so I felt kind of fortunate that I didn't have any major things to change.
I mean, I was definitely concerned because my bike has now probably got over 300 hours on it, so I was like, what do I need to do to make sure that this thing runs for 5 days, over 50 hours.
Pit maintenance crew was busy before you did that.
I know. I was gonna say, ask me. I'll have you divulge what my mechanic did.
What about tires? What tires did you guys run? Because again, you're going 600 miles through.
So the tire I ran was the VE33S.
Yeah.
And now it's probably got almost 700 miles on it, and it's still good.
Yeah, so it held up great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I thought it was great.
And Dan, you ran the same. Front was a Bridgestone M59. Same thing. Yeah. Yeah, pretty solid.
Yep.
Wait, what tire? You had a different rear tire though, didn't you? The Michelin?
I don't know, mechanic. What tire? I thought I had
the same
you did.
One. You have the V33.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
The same
Good
one.
coating.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. What about the other two ladies?
I thought you and Kalyn had the same, and then me and Courtney had the same for some reason.
Oh. I think only one tire was different looking at it.
What was it? Do you remember?
Had the M on it.
The Michelin.
The 140/80 medium Enduro?
Maybe I haven't ridden that tire yet. I'd like to.
Yeah, I just put that one on. I really like it so far. Awesome. So, done with bike prep. Everything's good to go. New wheel bearings. Yep. From what I heard, that was one of the major ones.
So we should give a shout out to Kalyn because she did a lot of research before this, and I think she had spoken with Joe, who kind of is like the pioneer behind this whole adventure, behind the Idaho, and he had said like one of the number one reasons why people don't complete it is because of wheel bearings.
Right.
You can see that for sure. Yeah.
It makes sense. It's a lot of mileage. I mean, it's easy to be like, oh, you're riding for 5 days, but you actually, I mean, you were on the bike for 10 to 13 hours a day.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least out on the trail for that long. Like obviously there's
from start to finish.
Right. There's some breaks in there and some, snack time or whatever, but that's those are big days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What about pre-trip physical and mental prep? We'll start with Dane. What did you what were you doing kind of were you trying to get in a certain amount of training, some cardio, some weightlifting, whatever, and then were you laying awake at night visualizing yourself succeeding going down trails or what?
Duh. I was doing Enduro Method. No, I was definitely doing strength and conditioning throughout the week. Throughout a work week, as much, if I only have an hour, dedicating that to the gym, just because for time efficiency. And then the one thing I did try and add more was mountain biking. I know you had mentioned you had done a lot of it, and then your first ride you were totally fine. So I was like, man, and I knew I wanted to add some more of that into my quote-unquote training program. So I was definitely incorporating that's probably the most I've ridden mountain bikes any summer. So that was good. Like I definitely think just upping your endurance and just more time. And I think there's a good carryover with just like line selection. Like your eyes are doing the similar thing that you'd be doing on a dirt bike. Whereas in the gym, staring at a wall or the ground or closing your eyes or whatever you may be doing is not conducive to line selection, but, helpful for everything else. So, gym stuff and then incorporating more mountain bike rides. Mentally trying not to stress about it. But mentally, honestly, I mean, we talked a lot about this, and it's just like I think you know what you're getting into. So like accepting your fate, knowing that it's just 1 mile after the next to get to the end, and you just keep going. You're accepting the fact that it's going to be a big day. Like I wasn't, sun up to sundown is what I kind of had in my head, and it's like, well, that's what we're doing, and so just being mentally prepared for that, and that like we're big days, keep going, don't stop, keep a positive attitude, and don't stress.
Yeah, all forward progress is progress.
Yeah.
I think Dane coined it pretty well. I was you guys know I've been kind of injured, so I started back on the dirt bike again, and kind of near the beginning of July with a few rides that felt great, and I think the mountain biking did help a lot, like the cardio and the leg strength, and just being on a bike and that motion helped a bunch, and as I could like do a little bit more weight training, I was doing a little bit of that too. But I heavily concentrated on the cardio, but that was me kind of coming back from nothing too. But I think I was fit enough for the ride for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely think that can't go undervalued, because I think that we all took that very seriously, and I think that played out. Nobody was, we can dive into that too, but like, not only our fitness was on par, but like you had mentioned before, like we had our nutrition and hydration keyed in, which was also like, I would lump that into the same kind of like aspect of, we took our physical bodies very seriously from pre to during, and I think that...
And post IPAs.
Yeah.
Very, very important to remember. But like, this is not an off the couch endeavor by any means, I would say.
Definitely not.
No. Like I put some big days on the dirt bike before, which, helped me too also mentally to be like, oh, see, Kalyn and I rode a 95-mile day, and I was like, woo, okay. 130 more, whatever, 30 more. So just like to kind of re-put that into perspective, and then just, knowing that it's coming, and, doing my best to try and dedicate as much time as I could, although I felt like you never have enough.
Right.
And I think mentally for anyone doing it, it's, you're going to be on the bike the whole time. When you're done, you're going to have to do a little bike maintenance every day. You're going to have to reconfigure things on your bike every day. Like you're in moto mind the whole time.
Right.
Well, we had some IPAs and went to the hot springs and had some fun too, but that's knowing like what we needed to do. I feel like our time management was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We wanted to leave at 6:30 every day, but my Garmin actually said we left pretty much at 7 most days. First day was like 6:45, I think. Still, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think just having that frame of mind of, okay, with this, we're in it from sun up to sundown is good, because it gives you that space to just kind of accept it instead of like, it's going to be 7 hours on the bike and then it turns out to be 9. I've had rides before that have been that way, and it kind of starts to beat you down a little bit. Or if, your expectations, we're going to be off the bike in 7, or at this time we're going to be here, and then all of a sudden you're behind. And
we were like, we're not going to make those IPAs and sit in the sun and drink them.
Exactly.
We got to get going.
Right.
But it was, we'd be checking our mileage and being like, we're
honestly,
a little bit slow this morning.
But like,
we had
honestly,
some issues, or just little things that would happen that we had to be.
Yeah.
After that, we're like not stopping that much.
Right.
Yeah.
So day 1 and 2, I thought we were gonna be out there longer. So when we got in and like to Stanley at like 5, I was like, woo, we got so much time. Like, wow. And then day 2 was like that too. We had a pretty decent run. We got in at a decent hour. We're able to hit the hot springs where we had our second injury. One of the girls, Courtney, slipped and fell and exploded her elbow on the rocks, but all was good. But then like day
proper
3,
first aid.
Yeah, we were well equipped. But then day 3 got interesting because that day was where I had a lot of issues keeping the gas on my bike. I kept the straps that I had attached kept breaking, and it just ate up a lot of time, which was already a long day as is. And so like, just knowing, at one point in the day I had done the math, and where we were at mileage wise, we had the entire what we had done day 1 left to do. And so I was like, well, that took us 10 hours. So, and right now it's noon, and we have the 10-hour ride that we did, the same number of miles that we did on day 1 to go. Yeah. So,
and obviously it depends on how much single track and double track, or road that you have too, where you can make up a lot of time.
But I just did simple math, and I was like, well, shit. We are, if I did the math correctly,
they're coming, let's go.
That's midnight. So, but we totally rallied, and I was, I thought for sure we were going to be pulling out headlights that day, but yeah, we rallied, but like mentally it was like, okay, that's what we're doing. We signed up for an adventure. Like Dane, don't worry, we have all this stuff. Like, if we need to make a fire, we can, like, we'll figure, you're not going to die. And then that was interesting too, because then that set us back because we got in past when the gas station closed.
Where was this?
This was in Pine.
Yeah, they don't have credit card gas stations in some of these small towns.
Right.
It's the pay inside.
Right. It can be fairly rustic.
The pump is just on, and then you pay inside. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't open until 8 a.m. the next morning. So that was like, and it ended up being great because we did some bike maintenance, but starting a day or an hour later.
And that was the last stage, right? Pine back to
second to last.
Second to last. Oh, okay.
Yep. But we ended up crushing that day too. We chose the route to go pick up gas at the what's that?
Smoky Bar. Mm-hmm. Another Kalyn owns that. Mm-hmm. She's rad, but she wasn't there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we just managed time really, really well.
What was the hardest stage physically and mentally?
I think it was that third day. Just because of the time frame and the beginning, the first half of the day was slower than it should have been for us, and we were like, yeah, keep rolling. Mm-hmm. That's it for me. Just the worry about coming in at night. I'd prefer not to come in at night. That's all. I don't want anyone to come in at night. So
yeah.
I think.
Well,
how about you?
Yours truly over here
that's right.
fell off the side hill. So day 2 on a super not crazy situation, but I ended up falling off on a side hill. I don't know, 30 feet.
About that.
Not off a cliff, but steep enough that you're not self-sufficient to get your bike up. And fell off that, had a little tippy situation, I guess. And but the team rallied, and we got my bike up and back on the trail, I'd say like within 5 minutes. Like, it was really cool to see like boom boom boom, like the teamwork, and like, okay, push pull, do this, do that, where should we go? But mentally that was tough to come back from. Like, I definitely, like, I'm not much of a shaker, but my hands were like like shaking. And then it's hard for me to come back from a crash like that to like get back into that flow state. So like I had to like, come on, Dane, like let it go, like, but your body, your central nervous system was like totally whacked out. So physically and mentally that was hard for me. I think like I think at the end of that day, luckily, I guess it happened in the beginning, but the end of that day, I was like, okay, I think I finally have recovered from my situation. But then I'm not going to lie. Every side hill thereafter, I was totally tweaking, which is not uncommon for me. I would say another hard part was there was a side hill on day 3. Yep, that was day 3 that had been like a little washed out.
Yeah.
So A, side hill, so which I go cross-eyed on and tweak already, and then B was just like loosey-goosey, so you were just like squirreling all the way up it, and so like when you're already scared and then you add the squirrel element to it, I was like, I just want this to be over.
Crazy rut in the middle of a skinny side hill trail.
Yeah.
It just kind of wanted to move you wherever it wanted to move you.
And so you should be riding that pretty loose and not scared, which would make it better, but I was definitely like tweaking. And then, yeah, I mean, any exposure was physically and mentally tough.
Side hill! I remember like, fuck this, I just want to get to the top. Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, it was just, yeah, I felt pretty good.
Was there any of the stages that were noticeably more technical than the others?
Well, everyone, you know, I think on the commentary of people watching us, like the Custer lookout and the Custer special test was like, ooh, sort of thing. And that was definitely, I would say that was probably the most difficult trail, just because of the exposure. And it's kind of a pretty skinny side hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
with extra weight on your bike and extra stuff, you know, hit a little rock on the side, and that hill is a lot steeper.
Yeah.
If you were to, you know, go over the side. It would have been a lot tougher to get the bike up, probably, depending on how far it would go down.
And is that on the last day?
That was the last day.
Yeah, so you also just have all the days of riding and fatigue build up too.
Yeah.
And anticipation.
And anticipation.
Yeah.
But super beautiful. I think that was, it's probably the funnest trail, most exciting trail. And amazing views from up there. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I kind of mentioned already, but just as far as group dynamics, everybody seemed to, get along. You're still talking, and
no issues
great.
At all.
We're like besties now.
Yeah. No little cat fights or anything.
I know. Like I somebody asked me, they're like, "Oh, how'd it go?" I was like, we were just so awesome. I don't know how really else to explain it. Like Kalyn's thing is fast friends, and like we definitely were fast friends. Like we just had a blast.
I haven't laughed so hard in years.
For that long, that many days.
Yeah, for that hours of like laughing, not being able to stop. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, so we just had we had
a great group.
Yeah. I mean, and we were all, Kate was obviously the pack leader as far as, the pack leader and, you know, most advanced rider.
Trail boss.
Trail boss. But I would say the rest of us were like really, like we were just solid. Like I would say I was probably worried about myself the most. Like, but you know, I've been on trail rides where you're kind of worried about someone. You're like, oh no, you know, like, or you're waiting a little bit longer and but we were never...
We worked as a really good team, helping each other out when we needed help.
You know? Totally.
Yeah.
And we were all just solid. Like, it would be the way I describe that. It's just like, I'm going to say it again. Solid.
Yeah. I would stop and rely on Kalyn, too, a lot if I was out in front with the Garmin.
Yeah, and I think...
because doing it the night before, there were some routes on roads, I'd just be like, straight lining it, and I'm going to follow the road. I don't have time to, like, trace out the route, but there were waypoints, and if there was one spot I was like, I better just double check with someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Was everybody on point with having their own map set up, or was there kind of one and a couple backups, or how'd you guys work that?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think that we did that really well. Like you and I had the Garmin's, I had the Garmin and Gaia, Kalyn had the Gaia, Courtney had Gaia and I think another. Did she have another or just Gaia?
Oh, I'm not sure.
But
we're the only ones that really had our Garmin's on.
Yeah.
And I had the Gaia map too, but
I think that was helpful to have it like, you know, when you're following tracks on the Gaia and you're constantly pulling your phone out, you got to stop at every intersection. Whereas like the Garmin situation, just like peeking down, like you're okay. You can. Oh, we got to go that way. So it's a quick transition when I think pulling your phone out every intersection could really eat up some time.
Right. So
we definitely had the mapping stuff. I would say I think we did really well with that between all of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, I could see that being a very underestimated skill. I mean, we ride a lot with these things already, so we just have the.
And if you've never been on those trails, like you see tons of trails all over,
right?
Or roads that intersect.
Yeah.
You know, I think it could be pretty confusing for someone who doesn't use it or is not familiar with it. And then to have to pull out their phone every time. I mean, because the Gaia is like, it works really well.
Yeah.
If you're going to use it, I would say create a mount on your bike.
Right. Yeah, because it does. It really eats up a lot of time. If you're every time you're like, oh no, I got a quarter mile or whatever, but you know, at an eighth mile, there's another road or a trail that's unmarked that shoots off in a direction. Then you got to stop, pull your thing back out, look at it, put it back away, get going again. I mean, even a Garmin, if you're not paying attention, it's super easy to shoot by whatever you're supposed to turn on. You're like, oh, well, all right, you turn. So, yeah. Would it be any easier, do you think, to do this on, like, say, a four-stroke where you get a much better fuel mileage and you just have to worry less about fuel? Like or was that kind of just a non-issue, you think?
You could probably get better gas mileage, but I think the two-stroke is just a funner tool for the trails that we were riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Honestly.
There's enough single track that, you know, it's not like you're...
You can do it on a four-stroke.
Yeah.
Like, we've done point-to-point on the four-strokes before. It's not impossible. I think it's just a little more fun on a two-stroke. That's all. Yeah.
You probably still have to carry gas anyways. So.
Or get a bigger tank. Yeah, you can probably get more gas mileage and not have to worry as much.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll do it in four-stroke.
Yeah, there you go. First all ladies four-stroke crew. Do you foresee yourselves doing any more in the future together as a group?
Yeah. Probably. I'm guessing it's probably already being thought about in Kalyn's head. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. We just had so much fun. And
if anything, we'll get together and ride together, whether it's a point to point or not,
or like a long,
or just go meet somewhere where it has super cool trails and ride, and not have to worry. But yeah, it's a pretty neat challenge.
Yeah. What was there any like big takeaways personally, as far as like I don't know, accomplishment or like feelings of accomplishment / moments during the thing that you overcame? That, I mean, you kind of, Dana mentioned falling off the side hill and kind of regrouping and having to deal with that, but just kind of big moments or rewarding times that you can think of.
Rewarding?
I just had one in my head and I lost it.
Or just what was the most rewarding thing in general that you kind of got out of it?
Doing it. Getting it done.
Hanging out with new people riding like that. Hanging out with 4 women riding. A ride like that is not very common.
No.
So I'd say that was the most rewarding. And I got to I know Dane pretty well. But I got to know you even better. So now I really understand your stories on Instagram.
For those of you listening who might not understand, you just got to get to know me.
I get it now. I get it. But yeah, fast friends. Courtney and Jamie I've never ridden with. And Kalyn and I have known each other for years, but we haven't hung out that intensely.
Right.
So I think that for me, that was like the biggest, most awesome takeaway.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement of not only accomplishing that, but accomplishing that with all women and no help and like, yeah.
And it's pretty neat that we all have our own businesses, like we were talking about on riding back home. Like things that we all have in common. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's where, some of the determination and drive comes from with our group.
Similar mindsets, similar lifestyles.
In what way?
Similar mindset?
And lifestyles.
Well, we all...
For those that aren't quite
knowing how to work
with.
hard and get shit done, I think.
Yeah.
For one. Probably not overreacting in situations. Jamie!
Small overreaction.
But, kind of that calm, cool, collected piece of it, I think, might come from that too. I'm just guessing, but...
Yeah.
Or the type of person who might want to do something like that. It's all...
Right. Yeah.
I think it's all part of it.
Right. And this would be mostly referring kind of to that entrepreneurial spirit.
I think so.
So everybody...
Not even the spirit, but...
Just the...
grit. You can have entrepreneurial spirit, but whether you go out and do it is a different story.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
We all did it.
Yeah, and to me, I think there was no outs, there was no such thing as giving up during it. Like that never even crossed my mind. The only out would be if my bike did not work anymore. Like I literally thought about that one time. I was like, the only way I'm not doing this is if they kick me off the island or if my bike breaks down.
Yeah. And I guess that was probably one of my only worries too during the trip was, okay, if someone's bike breaks or whatever happens, we just need to figure out a way to get them out. And hopefully we'll be lucky and it'll be an easy way out.
Right.
And we won't be like way the frick out there.
Halfway to halfway. Yeah.
And we lucked out with Jamie when she realized that she couldn't hardly twist the throttle at all, and her arm was getting like swelling more and more, and so her out was pretty simple. Like she did have to hit that trail. It was like 5 or 7 miles of single track, and then was able to hit a road. Luckily,
it was pretty easy.
Get herself out.
We were to the pavement
with
her.
There. Yeah.
And she went left, and we went
right. And that was on day 2.
Yeah. Yeah. But we got lucky in the sense of like where that happened and where those decisions were made, and that she was also able to get out safely by herself, and that nobody had to go with her or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe on a closing note for people who are aspiring to tackle something like this, what would be some words of wisdom?
Oh, didn't we just give you all the words of wisdom?
I can't remember.
Be a Girl Scout. Always be prepared.
I'm trying to think of a quote from the ride. Every day is a great day.
I think it's knowing what you're getting into.
Be prepared. Be prepared and commit and
do your bike prep.
Yeah.
You never know until you don't try. There you go.
Yeah, you never know until you try.
Yeah. Right. Quotes by Dan.
But not any Joe Blow can go out and do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how many failures there were. Like, it doesn't say really how many folks have ever tried this. That's what I would really like to know.
Yeah, that should be a good stat.
How many folks have gone out there and tried it, and why did they fail?
Right. And put names out there.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a really interesting fact, actually. I know that on the Facebook group, if I remember correctly, I feel like there was maybe 2 groups that started. I don't know if it was grit 3 or what grit they were doing, but I feel like they had to bail out. So 2 post our ride, people already had to pull the ripcord.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate. We had great weather.
Yeah, I think one of them maybe, like, we didn't have to deal with any of the fires, which is an unfortunate circumstance, but, you know, we got lucky as far as weather. We got rained on once. Weather, the smoke, honestly, like, the smoke that we're having here in Driggs or Teton Valley, Idaho right now is pretty crazy, and
Smoke wasn't too bad at all.
we didn't have hardly any, like, crazy smoke. So
Yeah, there was some, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we really scored.
We had a lot of good
things.
fortune, I must say. Yeah.
I mean, just with the good weather and no major mechanicals.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good for four people riding.
Yeah.
Not much mileage. I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on, Kate.
Thanks for inviting us.
Dane, and yeah.
You want to ask us what we ate? We got to give a shout out to Kate's Bars.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I'll get better at this at some point. This is also Kate Schade from Kate's Real Food.
Yeah.
And I know you had a lot
all
of...
ate Kate's Bars.
All ate Kate's Bars. Yeah. Anything else you want to mention or tag if anybody wants to get a hold of you or reach out?
Oh, check out our website, katesrealfood.com. We have a brand new flavor that just came out, too.
Ooh. Can you divulge what it is?
Yeah, I call it I call it oatmeal cranberry cookie, but I think it's actually called, I keep getting confused, like almond cranberry oat or something like that.
It's definitely got cranberry.
It tastes like a oatmeal cranberry cookie. That's what I made it after. It's delicious. That one's, I think now my favorites are the dark chocolate peppermint.
Yeah.
And now the cranberry oatmeal cookie, and then the cherry almond with dark chocolate. And I have a bunch of other recipes that I can't wait to get out. But yeah, I ate those every day. I think I had 2 a day. I still eat my own bars all the time.
Yeah.
I usually a lot of times I'll add peanut butter on top of them. Little Justin's nut butter packs. The little Stroop waffles, you had some of those.
Yep.
You probably don't want us to talk about our food anyway.
No, go ahead.
Done?
No, keep going. Seriously.
What else? Oh, yeah, oysters and sardines I had. Oysters one day, sardines, the little cans.
Yeah.
Love them.
Ugh.
And then whatever leftover food we had for dinner. Half a hamburger on the trail one day. Pizza.
I brought tuna and tortillas and naan for 5 days.
Nice.
So I was equipped there. But did the Kate's Bars. I had like a little special allotment for every day. Kate's Bars, and then I had the waffles, gummies, and then I had goos, like energy goos, quick ones. And that, I will say, we were all on that really well. Like, we were eating. That is one thing I would encourage if you're looking to do this, is don't let that go by the wayside. Like, take that very seriously, because those are big days, and I feel like we did that all very, very well. And
did anybody have any hard numbers that they were kind of hitting from a calorie perspective?
A lot.
No
Not
math?
that I'm aware of. Yeah.
No, I mean, I could guess based on my allotments that I did, but that would, it was a lot, and none of us had electrolytes in the water, but we had electrolytes before and after, and maybe a little during too, like little shooters. So we all had that dialed.
Dialed, but no real numbers.
No real numbers. Sorry, Josh. I made sure to get my protein with the sardines and oysters.
Yeah.
And peanut butter and bars.
Yeah.
Probably not enough, but...
What about from a burning standpoint on the smartwatches and whatnot? Any calculations?
I think mine wasn't working. Because it would say I did like 2,500 calories all day long.
Oh, that's not...
I don't think it was working.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
So when we rode on Sunday, I burned 2,500 calories in 4 hours. So you can do the math there.
So you're probably...
Well, it might be right then. Some people are like double of what I do.
Yeah. But, I mean, because you're probably... I mean, I was kind of figuring you're probably 6,000 plus calories a day.
You would think so.
6,000,
Yeah. What about when you got back, that just real quick, the last couple of days, like when you finished, you're elated, you've kind of probably been pushing the fatigue point for, 5 days in a row, essentially. Would you feel like day after, and maybe the next couple of days after you got back?
Day after, God, I just sat at the desk and worked all day.
Physically
I don't
fine.
think. Physically fine. I think I did a normal workout.
Yeah.
No huge soreness. I think the only issue I'm having is with my hand tingling, but I almost think it's from my neck injury that I had years ago. That the weight of at the end, second half of the day, the weight on my traps, I could feel a lot. So it might have pulled something kind of in my neck that might have affected this because it's worse than normal. I think that's like probably the only major after effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I thought I was gonna feel worse physically. Like, I thought I was gonna be way more sore. I had my 3 trigger points were my left calf, my right trap, and then my right erector. But they were all fine. They were just fatigued during the rides. Those would be like my, quote unquote pain points. And then, honestly, I was just tired. Like, I was like, I mean, I slept so hard when we got back that first night. I think I just really was just tired, like sleepy, more so than anything.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my right foot got a little sore.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, but it gets more sore when I'm walking. So being on the bike wasn't too bad. There was one other thing afterwards. Oh, never mind. I've forgotten.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for the recap. Hopefully we did it some justice. And folks out there that are interested will, I don't know, get at least the story or get some ideas.
Look into it. Read the website, too. He gets a lot of great information on there. Yeah.
And what is the website?
It's Idaho.org.
.info.
Oh, it's .info. Oh, good catch.
Yeah.
Good catch. I knew it was not .com.
Yeah. Idaho.info.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would say if you have any other specific questions, feel free to reach out to. You can reach out to me at Enduro Method on any of those platforms. If you wanted people to reach out to you, reach out to Kate.
You can reach out to Dane.
You can reach out to me. And yeah, if you have any training questions or you want to physically prepare for this,
hit us up.
Yep, it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you out on the trail.
See you on the trail.